What's going on, guys? Good morning. Happy Monday. I hope everyone is having a good trading session already to start the week. So what I'm going to start doing a little bit more of these intraday trade recaps. Okay, so I have a paid section to my website called Gold Members. So Gold Members will get exclusive call outs from me on active stocks that I'm trading, as well as access to a private one-on-one chat with me if you have any questions on any particular trade during the day, as well as in the Discord. We do have a free section with a ton of channels in there and a ton of guys who are just in the free section. And I also put out some free call outs and some free pivots in those sections as well to kind of help you guys jumpstart, maybe if you have a smaller account, or maybe stocks that are, showing a little bit more of a bigger breakout, and you don't really follow my system or strategy. It's kind of a little bit easier to follow, but I want to kind of do some breakdowns and kind of show you guys, how these pivots work, how you would use them, how to take advantage of them. So the stock that we're going to be talking about is Coin, COIN. Okay, the free pivot that I put out was $282. That was the break that we were looking for. Why we were looking at 282, I can get into that in another video, but you kind of have to learn my system and see as to what supplies were confirming and why I chose that 282. But just to get into the actual trade, if you're a member of the Discord and you pulled up the free watch list, Coin was on there for 282 break. So here's what I'm going to show you. Today is Monday at 6 a.m. I am Pacific Standard Time. So 6 a.m. we're going to be looking at the hourly time frame here. So I'm going to show you two ways that you could have played this for two different gains. Obviously, the profit taking would have been different depending on your specific trading strategy and how much you were looking to make out of the trade if it went in your favor, versus where we would have potentially cut this stock at a loss if it worked against us. But let's go ahead and start with the hourly time frame. So on the hourly time frame, this hour candle is going to open up at 6 a.m., which is going to be pre-market. Okay, so the market's not going to open until 6:30. So what we are looking for here is a break of the pivot, which is going to be $282. And then we're going to look for a confirmation of that pivot. Now, there's two ways that we can play it. If we want to play it smart and you're not a member of Evolution Traders and you don't have my particular trading strategy course, I would say 100% of the time, always wait for confirmation. Now, if you are a member of Evolution Traders, you can enter into the candle that breaks the pivot. However, you have to adjust your risk management and your stop loss a little differently if you are deciding to play that. And sometimes you do have a little bit of a bigger risk, but if you're a member to the paid section, you kind of understand where these levels are and where you would be stopping out, where your support would be. So I'm just going to speak to people who are not a member. You do not have my trading course. However, you're a member of the Discord. You got the pivot of 282. We're going to use the hourly candle here. We're going to find our entry, and then we're going to find our confirmation. So on this particular play, 6 a.m. candle is going to open up. A little bit of selling pressure here in the pre-market, came down, touched the 20-day moving average. New candle opens up, pushed lower, and then immediately bull started to buy it back up. I love when we see this long tail end wick here getting back above supply. 282 is going to be the pivot, which is this white line here. And you can see we put in a high of 285.35. and we closed at 284.89. So what we would be looking for is a confirmation of that pivot break. So if the pivot is 282, that does not mean to just jump in at 282. Now remember, I just said if you have the Evolution Traders, strategy, and you went through all 22 videos in my trading course, you can kind of understand why we would jump into this candle in specific situations. However, again, I'm speaking to those of you guys who are just free members in the Discord and all you have is the 282 pivot. So we would be looking on the hourly time frame to break this pivot. We would be looking for a close. And then what we would do is set a trend line at the close. Okay. Or you can do it at the top of the tail. Normally I like doing it at the top of the tail if there's a tail. Some guys like to use the closing bar, some guys like to use the tail. I always like to use the tail, but to each his own. So that price is going to be 285.44. So we got the pivot break of 282. We put in a high of 285.44. And at 7 a.m., which is right here, we can see, scroll down to the bottom, 7 a.m. candle on the hourly time frame, we get a little bit of a push down and a bounce off of the 5-day moving average on the 1 hour time frame. As soon as this breaks, our pivot high price of 285.44 is going to be our entry. It's not rocket science, guys. The pivot is 282. Our candle opens up. We pass and break 282. We're going to wait for this 1 hour candle to close. And then we're looking for the next hour candle to confirm that high price of 285.44. As long as there is no supply ahead, our profit taking would be either A, next supply ahead, or 1, 2, 3 points higher, depending on the type of stock that you're trading. Obviously, if you're trading a stock that's $8, $10, $20, you're not going to get those $1, $2, $3 moves. You might get 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, so forth and so forth. Being that I'm trading coin, I'm pretty familiar with this stock, the way that it moves. The stock can fly, $5. The stock can fly $20. The stock can make a move, put in after a pivot, go up 1 point. It could get rejected, come down 5 points. So I know that there's an average true range is big on Coinbase. I would be looking for 2 to 3 points or next area of supply. Next area of supply was going to be this upper Bollinger Band here. We would take entry on the 285.44. We would get long here. And you can see that this put in a high of 296.98, which is 11 points off of your entry. So let's just take a general lot size of 100 shares. You bought 100 shares of Coinbase. This moved up $10. $10 times your 100 shares. Do the math. If you're playing options contracts, this contract would have moved 50%, 100%, depending on if you were playing in the money, how deep in the money you were playing, or at the money, 50, 60, 70, 80% return in a matter of 30 minutes to an hour. Candle closed at 293.75. So here is where we would be taking profits. If you follow my system, you follow, not trying to be greedy, get in, make your money. I like to take profits into strength, into next area of supply. I like to hold runners to see if we can confirm that supply and ride higher. And then if we break that supply, I like to scale out my runners on the break. In this instance, I would have taken entry at 285.44. And again, I'm speaking for people who maybe are free members. Myself, I took entry on the 282 break, and I used the low candle as my stop, 276.77. People are going to say that's a 5-point risk. Very, very risky. I understand that, but I also understand stocks. I understand my trading strategy, so forth and so forth. Yes, it is a big risk. However, you have to kind of gauge that. If we were to break 282, go up 50 cents, and then immediately start to retrace, I probably would have just exited the trade. But obviously, this broke the 282, made it set in a new high, another green candle pushing higher. So 285.44, let's say there's a little bit of slippage, 285.50, 285.65, you get into the stock. I would be looking to scale out profits into next supply. That next supply is going to be the Bollinger Band here. That price would have been somewhere around 290. So you were looking at a 4 to 5 point gain. Some of you guys who like to just take your profits and run, look for the next setup, sell 100% of your position. Those of you guys who like to keep a runner, let's say you bought 100 shares, I would probably scale out 60, 70 shares. I would keep 30 shares as a runner. Can we confirm this upper Bollinger Band supply here? If we can, scale out every 50 cents to $1 up after that. If you did not take profits here and you're, just waiting for this to go to the moon, obviously, we know stocks have to backtrace. They have to backtest support here. I would have sold my position on the following hour's candle, which is 8 a.m. here. As soon as this candle opens up, it tries to push higher. However, it never takes out high of day here. So if I draw a trend line, never takes out high of day here. I can see that momentum is starting to dry. Stock comes down, tries to back test the 5-day moving average. However, because there's momentum and the stock is still strong, closes red at 292.46. Absolute would have stopped out here, taken my profits up 7 points on the day. In my case, in my personal trade that I took this morning, I entered in at the 282 break. I got in a little bit over that. I did have a little bit of slippage. I did just sell right into supply at the upper Bollinger Band, and I made about 4.5, 5 points, depending on, my scale out in particular times. Obviously there's slippage. The stock is not just sitting at a one particular price point, but I'm speaking for all of you guys who enter into the trade at 285.50. You guys get in, you sell out maybe 50-60% of your shares here at supply. You let it put in a high. Let's say, for example, you got greedy. You did not sell here. Next candle opens up, pushes lower. Bulls raise that price back up and closes below the high of day price. I would have just sold here. So this, in the 8 o'clock hour, you would have sold at 292.73. Again, anywhere from 5 to 7 point move on that. You move along from your trade. 7 points on 100 shares. Do the math on what you would have made in less than an hour, guys. Take these free pivots that I'm giving you guys. Follow the system. Wait for your confirmation. Let the stock price break that pivot. Do not get FOMO. Do not feel like you're going to miss out on a trade. If this goes up, breaks 282, puts in a high at 285, and then you are left with so much FOMO to where you just buy at 285.40, and the next thing the next candle opens up and breaks through supply, and now you're in the red. You always want to just let the stock confirm. If the stock is strong, it's going to continue to run. I want to emphasize that. If it breaks a pivot and it puts in a high and the stock is strong, it will continue to climb higher in the next hour's candle. There is no rush. There is no harm. There is no foul. Okay. If this puts in a high at 285.50 and the next hour candle opens up and starts to retrace, do not just buy on the dip, because this could keep on dipping. We never got that confirmation. Just wait for your confirmation, guys. Stay patient, use these pivots, and always take profits into the next supply higher. Hold a runner and let the trade work in your favor.